Great evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast, hosted by the Empowering Perspective community. We're your hosts for this evening conversation. As you can see, back again, we got a full house, so it's always good to be, having all my gentlemen, my brothers with me. So with me tonight, I have my brother, Mr. Roland Walker, also known as Poor Man's Dr. Phil. Encouragement is his job, just so that you know. Also with me is Mr. Tawami Gaddy, the son of Timothy, also known as the Available Man. And below him, you'll find our other brother, Mr. Christopher McClellan, the host of Across the Table with Christopher. And back
Damn right.
And back with us again is the Uncle Junior himself, Mr. Garfield Martin, the host of the Uncle Junior Network, also known as the Consistency Coach. And yeah, man. And also, my name is Dwayne Dwyer. I am the Mindset Coach. Gentlemen, how about
you just died down on them,
right?
Right.
On your humble stuff, man. Stop it. Cut it out.
Humble, man. I try to be humble, man. How you guys doing, man?
I'm well.
Man, good. Finally, been gone for a couple weeks doing high school football, man. But I'm glad to be back, man. Like, for real. I had a real quick. I don't know, man. Like, I lost my father in 18. So I had a really, not a rough day, but I just spent a couple of days ago just really like, so I went in my son's room and I was just like, hey, man, I just wanted to tell y'all I love y'all and stuff like that. I told him, I was like, look, man, I ain't perfect. And I was like, I just want to tell y'all that I love y'all and I appreciate and envious of what they have as brothers. You know, and then later on, man, I just started thinking about my dad, man, and I had a little moment and stuff, man. But it's been a long week, been a fun week, an eventful week, a stressful week, a week full of emotions and stuff. And now I'm ready to kind of, start the weekend here with you guys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to the show, especially based off of the topics and the talking points and what was being rolled out to us behind the stage. So
absolutely,
I'm excited, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us, man, because, we got to keep in mind that we're humans first, right? And we cannot deny the human experience. So, man, thank you for sharing that. And welcome back. Good to see you as well. Mr. King, that guy over there, King Petty, man, what's happening? How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing good. It's crazy because I'm excited about talking about DV. And that's what's crazy because it's like, okay, how can you get excited about it? But like I told you before, I'm excited about it because I see people through our conversation having breakthroughs and having information given to them and experiences to where they can have weights lifted off them. So I'm excited. I've been excited since I was thinking about it earlier.
I love it. Let me turn the mic to this guy right here, man. You had a look on your face, bro. What's going on? You all right over there?
Excited and DV in the same sentence. That's what got me.
Breakthrough.
But hey, let's go.
I got you. Breakthrough. Brother Gaddy, how you doing, man?
Man, man, I'm blessed. I'm doing good, but I'm gonna take my opportunity to let my brother down there, let the uncle with the funk know, hey bro, I'm with you, bro. You know, my father passed in 19. Last week was his birthday. You know, so I know what you're talking about where the head is at, but hey, we still standing and fighting, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. It's something in the water because I talked to somebody else. I'm not gonna mention that. I want to actually talk to somebody this morning, and he said 2 years ago on the same day that I was having my moment and stuff, he was thinking about it was the same day that his father had died. And it was crazy. You know, it ain't like I'm not saying up here, it's not about sympathy or sadness or anything. You know, it was a moment, but I had some good memories and different things like that that came up. And you know, it's just, you know, kind of re-energized certain things about the connection that I want to have with my sons. You know what I mean? Like I can't call dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can be the father that, you know, as close to what they want. You know, I can be here. You know what I mean? And I can talk to them. So
Yeah, man, absolutely. Wait till you get older, it gets even better. Especially if you got girls. Listen, as much as I appreciate you, gentlemen, I do not want to neglect our audience because listen, we appreciate you guys. We value you. We understand that you could be any place else on this beautiful Friday night, but you chose to come hang out with these old men. And listen, we don't take that lightly. So we value your time. So I like to call people by name. So Michelle Ray, welcome to the conversation. Cassandra McKenzie, welcome. Queen V, Miss Verlene McCoy, always good to see you. And welcome. Miss Bernadette Simmons, good to see you. Let's see. Nick D, good to see you. Welcome to the show. Crystal Everett, Miss Adrian Walter, good to see you. Welcome to the show. May Bird, good to see you as well. Lisa Keys, welcome. Let me make sure I didn't miss it. Miss Charlotte Jordan, there she is. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Miss Shanithia Burns, good to see you. Shell, Miss Uncle Junior, good to see you. Big brother Casey, what's happening, brother? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. And for everybody else who's joined us that you haven't gotten in the chat, let us know that you're here. By all means, jump in there and let us know that we're here. Because one of the things I believe that we don't do a very good job at in our community is give people their flowers while they have the opportunity to enjoy them. And that's what we try to do over here on this channel. So if you guys were with us last week, we had it was a heavy conversation. We kind of talked about that before the conversation. We talked about that after last week's show. But like I told these gentlemen, I was extremely pleased with the way that they handled it. And so this one is kind of like a continuation because everybody knows that this is DV month, right? So DV awareness, we want to make sure that we, talk about it, have the difficult conversation and put it out there so that we can get better with it in our community. Also breast cancer awareness as well. So if you have anybody in your family that ever experienced breast cancer or have overcome breast cancer, shout out to you. We want to make sure that we honor you and lift you up. Again, we understand, I understand because I had an aunt who had to deal with it. She didn't win, but that's okay. I've seen her struggles, and that's one of the reasons why it's personal to me. So again, I want to make sure that I acknowledge that upfront and personal and open so that everybody can see it as well. Okay. That said, we're going to dive into the admin portion real quick because I got to put some stuff out there and then we're going to dive into this conversation. So just so that you know, we're doing a monthly giveaway. Again, we're halfway through this month, but we're not finished. So October, November, and December, I'm giving away some stuff. So with that said, for you to be eligible, this is all you have to do. Go to www.totalmindsetshift.com. Again, www.totalmindsetshift.com. Listen, if you forget that, just type in my first and last name, DwayneDwyer.com. It'll go to the same place, I promise. And then once you get there, you got to find you got to make sure that you register first and foremost, right? Once you register, then find the message board. Once you find the message board, pin to the top of the page, right? It's in the Total Mindset Shift group. Pin to the top of the page, you will see a message and open it up and you will see a link in there for you to fill out your submission. Now, here's what you got to do. You got to look at the upcoming shows and submit questions that you want us to ask for those shows. It's that simple. You can do everyone from here to the end of December because I'm trying to put them out there early. That way everybody can see them. So fill out the form and it'll come to my website and I can see exactly who it is. That said, what we'll do is we'll start, every week we'll look at who submitted their questions and they go into a drawing. And then at the end of the month, we do a drawing, right? So here's the deal. The deadline has to be the day of the show. Once the show goes live, I can't give you credit for a show that has already happened and you submit a question, right? So make sure that you get your question in there before the show happens. Okay. Want to make sure we put that out there because, again, I greatly appreciate the questions that we're getting right now. They're great questions. And the ones that, here's the funny part about it, the ones that were submitted for this segment, we already had it in there. So I'll still give you credit for your submission, though. But again, just keep submitting questions because this is a channel where we take your feedback and we incorporate it into the show. Now, here we go. The topic of today's conversation is raising awareness of domestic violence in gender roles. Now, again, I want to make sure I put this out there. Everybody on this panel has their own opinion. Everybody has their own thoughts. On the empowering perspective, in the empowering perspective community, everybody's opinion value. I want to make sure that I'm clear, though. Do not take one person's opinion and tie it to the entire community. That's not what we're about here, right? We value people. We listen to them wholeheartedly, and we honor their perspective. Even if you don't agree with it, that's okay. Nobody ever told you you had to agree anyway. You have to hear it. If we can hear it and then we actually consider it, then if we do all of that, then we can actually come to an understanding where we can have amicable conversation. Okay. So as we start to dive into this, the first thing I want to make sure that people understand is that every shattered glass, every piece tells a story, right? And a story that often hides in the shadow, masked by what society expects and accepts. Today, we're diving deep into an issue that's far too prevalent, yet often concealed behind closed doors. Here on the Hearts of Men podcast, we're taking a stand. We're unmasking the challenge, the biases, the unspoken pain, and most importantly, the untapped strength and resiliences. If you've ever felt alone, silenced, or simply curious about the intersection of domestic violence and gender roles, this is your moment. Welcome to Raising Awareness of Domestic Violence and Gender Roles. Stick with us, and we're going to uncover a transformative perspective. In today's rapidly evolving world, countless individuals feel trapped by societal pressures, silenced by prevailing narratives, and are searching for a safe space to explore, grow, and redefine their personal journeys. Yet, there's a glaring void when it comes to platforms that offer both understanding and actionable strategies for personal and community transformation. Recognizing this need, we introduce you to a haven designed especially for thinkers, doers, and change makers like yourself. This haven is known as the Empowering Perspective Membership Program. Here, you won't just find answers, you'll co-create them. Step into the environment where every voice counts, where shared experiences breed resilience, and where your unique narrative becomes an integral part of a larger, impactful story. Join us and let's weave a tapestry of empowerment, understanding, and lasting change together. That said, in order for you to do so, go back to that website, right? www.totalmindsetshift.com, right? And you're going to have to become a member. And then if you look in prices and plan, you'll see the different ways to join the program. You have the gold, you have the platinum, and you have the diamond membership. Remember, at the end of the day, gold and platinum is great. Diamonds are forever. Okay. That said, gentlemen, you already know the first question of the day. What are gender norms? Now, and I want to be specific because we like to define things here, right? What are gender norms and how have they become such a huge talking point in our modern society?
No one knows.
I think
Now go ahead. Go ahead.
I think gender norms are what
right.
in the past society thought was the general role or the norm for men and women only. I'm just saying that. We may come back to that later on at some point, but I think some of the talking points in one instance, I think it may be the space that we spend our time. You know, what we see on our feed on social media has a lot to do with the things that we spend time watching. So I think some of it is that. I think the other part is because now everybody has a talking point or everybody has something to say because of social media. In years past, when we grew up, you had the newspaper and you had a couple of different channels on TV. now the world is wide open. Not only can you connect with people in your city, your state, your country, but now you can reach out and with a couple of clicks or dots, you can be talking to somebody halfway across the world or all the way across the world. So I think those are some of the reasons why this has been caused, have become a huge talking point. And I'm just going to leave it at that right now because I know we're going to dig a lot deeper as the show continues. Chris got his hands up.
What are gender norms? Now, I think, what makes the first part of this question hard is because there's a difference between norms and roles, right? I think you chose your words wisely because you're a firm believer that words mean things. So norms is where it's hard because the norms are all over the place. I don't even know if there's a norm anymore, right? Of what is generally normal, and and that to me is why it has become such a large talking point in modern society, is because you have people who are trying to hold to some of the traditional standards of gender roles, and then you have those who are trying to completely destroy all concepts of traditional gender roles, because in hindsight they're trying to destroy the whole concept of gender identity. I'll leave that to whoever wants to fight that fight. But so a part of it is that, and then another part of it is I think when we start talking about genders, everybody wants control over the other person, right? We're never talking about how both sides can benefit each other. We're talking about men out here telling women what they're supposed to do because it's about how they benefit from from the woman, and women out here telling men what they're supposed to do so they can benefit from the man. But nobody's out here saying, this is how you benefit from me. This is what I can be to better my relationship, my home. So I think it's really, it's nonsense to me. It's control and it's foolery. I'm gonna leave it like that.
Gender norms. I think gender norms is almost become like a dinosaur, because how we're trying to take it in today's society is where we want to dictate, as Gaddy was saying, what everybody else does. You got men telling other men how women should be treated, how women want to be treated, and vice versa. So when it comes to the norm aspect, a norm is a rule, and a rule is just like the ruler. It's what the average person says. It's like, hey, if everybody say it, it's like democracy. Everybody voted for it. Everybody ain't vote for him. He ain't president because everybody voted for him. Some people did, but other people had to go with the flow because of the majority. So in this instance, majority have been getting their information from people with talking points. So that's what they run with. So they say, oh, it's no gender roles. You can do everything. It used to be where when you had a boy, just like they do the cakes. They do the cakes and they cut into it. If it's blue, it's a boy. If it's pink, it's a girl. Now I'm offended by that. I don't care if you're offended. See, and that's our problem. We allow other people's offenses to dictate how we move. So I got to call you them, they, their, and all this other stuff, and saying instead of saying what you were born. So a gender, this one of the things where I'm not afraid to offend somebody when it comes to these things, because if my offense is not a personal attack, but it's a norm for me, you can't say I got to choose your norm in order for me to be right, because I'm righteous in what I'm saying, because I'm calling you what you were born.
I'm real quick. Then I'm gonna back out. It was a real little small alibi. I think some of these gender norms have been expectations based off society, but I also think that all gender norms, good or bad, good, bad, or indifferent, are not all bad. I think there are some that are actually true and not necessarily, like I said, good or bad. Like norms for gender is one norm is that men are generally stronger than women. That's a general norm. So I don't say all of them don't necessarily have to be bad or in a negative type of way. I do think that there are other things about gender norms and probably some positive things and probably some things that help us in society because we have gender norms. So I just want to throw that in there.
See why I
And
said I have no idea? Do you see what all of you just did? You just went a trillion different ways to talk about gender. Like nobody knows. Here's the thing. Roland said something and it made sense. If the way that I think about gender offends you, that's a you problem. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I, for one, have always been raised on the concept that there are two genders and there are two sexes. But the fact that I even say that allows a group of people who thinks gender is fluid to put me in a box that I have absolutely no business in. You understand what I'm saying? So I have no idea. This is why I stay out of these conversations, because these conversations can go left really quick and it can go into nonsense really, really quick. So I have no idea what a gender norm is, because to keep it real, according to mainstream media, social media, and what we see on TV, we have no idea what a gender is or what gender I'm talking to. So I have no idea.
So all great valid points, and I'm agreeing with pretty much everybody. I think, to Chris's point, a large part of the confusion is the fact that, number one, either you are against it or you are for it, one or the other. And because everybody has an opinion and everybody believes in their right to voice their opinion, even though sometimes we may not necessarily do well by voicing everything that we think, we do it anyway. And we live in that society to where your thoughts are welcome, your feelings are harnessed. It doesn't matter what it is. And then everybody just wants to be heard. And so then what you'll have is one generation who actually have a clear cut interpretation of what gender normalcy looks like. And then other generations be like, well, no, I can do this too, and I can do this too, and I can do this too. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. In my house, if a woman get out there and cut the grass, I'm gonna run her over with my truck. I'm joking. I'm not gonna literally run her over with my truck, but I'm just saying, like, I'm
But
just
see,
saying,
I understand you are gonna snatch her up, because it's like, why
ain't
are
gonna
you cutting the
physically,
grass when I'm here?
right?
You
I'm
understand
not
what I'm
gonna
saying?
physically snatch her up. It
You a
was a
better
joke.
one than me. Get off the lawnmower. Go make
But
me some tea, and I got the rest of the lawn. And
right,
it's not to and here's why I said it allows people to put me in a box that I have no business in. It's not about women being weak or anything like that. It's just that the way that I was raised, women don't cut the grass. We do. That's stuff that we were brought up to do. You understand what I'm saying? So
right.
I get
But I
what you're
think,
saying.
the notion is, and I want to be crystal clear. I think the fact that we say women don't kind of leans to an idea of inability or restriction, to where I think the best way to look at it is that women don't have to cut the grass when you got a full-bodied grown man sitting up in the house watching TV or playing video games. You know what I'm saying?
Confusing don't and can't.
Correct. Absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so I
It,
didn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
just say the exception is if there's something that she may enjoy to do. I knew a guy and he said he don't cut the grass. He said his wife loves yard work and cutting the grass and the manicure on the lawn. I get it. But like Coach said, not in this house.
I'm gonna need you to
Don't
find
touch my
another hobby.
lawnmower. Stay away. You hear
I'm gonna
that, Shell? She in the chat. Stay away from my lawnmower. She already knows. She ain't even trying to be out there. She found with just bringing me some tea.
But you guys know me though. This is a conversation you have long beforehand, right? You know, you understand, you identify those differences, those little nuances that exist between these two individuals, right before you get to the point of being married and realizing, like, well, if you like doing lawn work and that's like her hobby, well, we're gonna be butting some heads, or we're just gonna go out there and cut the grass together. I'm gonna cut the grass and you do the hedges and all that other good stuff. Stay away from my grass. So my grass got to stay green. Not saying that you can't keep it green. I just don't want you cutting the grass because I'm here, right? Now you can do the flowers and you can do the hedges and all that other great stuff, and we can do yard work together. That's perfectly normal in my mind. But for her to be out there pushing the lawnmower and you in the house, telling me you watching the game, I personally, and I want to say this, I personally got a problem with that. That's just me. And I'm going down this path because I think that's where a lot of the issue comes in, because some people feel slighted, some people feel like the other person is trying to control the other person because of their gender, right? Yes, sir. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, you brought this up, and somebody sent me something yesterday, and they were surprised by my reaction. They said it was a bunch of dudes walking down the street at some parade in some red high heels, and then the thing was like, "How would you? How now you know how it feels to walk a mile in her shoes or something like that." I'm like, I don't want to walk in her shoes. She shouldn't want to walk in my shoes. My shoes are mine for a reason. Let me
Out the
do
way.
mine. You do you. I'm gonna do me. If I'm walking in your shoes, I'm taking over your position. See, it's all about taking over position. I don't want to take. I don't want to be a good mother. I don't want to be a good anything female. I want to be the best father. And if that means that you aren't being a good mother, that still don't put me. Oh, I'm a good father, so I'm the best father and the mother. No, I'm not. I'm just a great father. Now you got to do your portion. So I can't step into any lanes that I wasn't built for. But yet we try to put ourselves in those lanes because other people say, well, you can't do. So yes, I can. No, you shouldn't. You should be happy that someone else has that lane and you can back out of it.
Yeah.
You know, for me, and I might get beat up. That's fine. I'll take my lashes.
Say it with your chest.
I'm gonna say with all 48 inches of it. I believe it comes a part of what we're talking about right now, right? It stems from the glorification of the single motherhood, and not just from women, but from some of us who were brought up by single mothers, right? And it's by proxy, right? Because we don't. Some of us didn't have a father in the house to shout out in public and all this other stuff, you know, whatever that story and that narrative goes. But it has come to the point to where a lot of women I notice nowadays feel as if they don't have that burden and that weight on their back of carrying everything, then to the other women, they're not a strong woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. Oh, don't let a man hold you down. You don't have a man. That's why you're doing it. But she does, so she don't have to. And so it just creates a really, really tough conversation that, and I go back to what Roland said earlier, that becomes a you problem, not in my problem, because you don't feel like you're doing. No, it's we. That's why you don't feel like you're doing what they're doing, because you're not a single mother or whatever.
Not only that, it causes confusion. It causes a lot of confusion. Like, okay, you can do what I do, but I'm doing it, so you don't have to, but you still want to do it, but I'm doing it. Like, what am I supposed to do then? Am I supposed to let you? And then once you start complaining about it, what am I supposed to do now? You understand what I'm saying? I said this before, like at the moment I am in a sphere and I am doing something that I hate, since we're talking genders, and I believe that there are two genders. Come at me if you want to. I don't care. You can't whoop me. But here's the thing. No woman touches a door handle, a gas pump, or a garbage can around me. That's just me. Like, you don't need to be pumping your own gas. I'm going to let you in and out of your car. And I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a me thing. And it's not because I don't think you're capable. It's just because it's a me thing. You understand what I'm saying? I just do not believe that you should be pumping your own gas. I do not believe that you should be taking out your own garbage. And I do not believe that you should be and letting you in and out of my car. There's a philosophy behind that, but I'm gonna go into that later. But that's the thing. But it's like, if you pumping your own gas, and I specifically said that I don't like it when you do that, I'm gonna let you. And then once you start complaining, I'm gonna say, I told you not to do that no way. So shut up. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it causes confusion like that. This is why there's so much. This is why nobody knows what they're supposed to do now, because everybody is trying to do what everybody else is supposed to do instead of staying in your lane.
I would say one huge reason why it's more of a talking point right now is because of, if you look at, I'm an educator. So there's over the last few years there have been, talk about what should and shouldn't be taught in the schools to the youth. So I think that right there has caused an increase in talking points in modern society too. When we talk about, should this be taught in school, or this conversation should be had at home and not in school. So most people, or a lot of people, have children who go to school. So there's a lot of parents out there, and they're talking and they're having these conversations about gender norms, because it's in the schools. It's in my school, it's in a lot of different schools. What are gender norms? How do we have discussions and conversations with students when these certain topics come up? What happens when a student wants to identify a certain way? So I think because there's so many people in the United States that have children, and some people want to have certain conversations and think they should be had in school, and some people don't. So I think that it has caused an uptick in the conversations when it comes to these things, just because it's something that is being pushed into schools or not pushed into schools. There's two sides of it, and some people are for it and some are against it, depends on what the conversation is. So I think that's part of the reason why there's an uptick, and this is more of a talking point in modern society.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, I was just gonna say, and people think because you disagree with something that you hate it or whatever. I can disagree. I respect if that's what you do, have at it. I'm comfortable with that. I'm cool with it. Do you have zero problem? I have family members like that, and I don't bash them about their choices or anything like that, because we all choose our own path. But I don't expect for you to say you gotta do this and you gotta call me that. No. If I've been calling you doggone Keisha your whole life, you ain't gonna be Keith tomorrow just because you show up in a tuxedo. I'm cool with that. Now you see, it's a respect thing on both ends. I'm not gonna disrespect you in any manner. I'm not gonna call you any derogatory names. I'm not gonna talk down to you or belittle you or your choice or anything like that. But when it comes to my children, I'm not gonna teach them, oh, that's Uncle Auntie over there. No, you are who you were born to me. So if you don't respect my opinions and my views, don't come around me.
So let me
On the
hold
flip
on.
side of that,
Hold on. I think
okay,
we
I'm
started to
sorry.
steer. We're starting to steer. Let's bring it back. Center mass. So again, just want to make sure that we're speaking specifically gender norms, not the opinions of the differences of genders that exist today. Because I think when we do that, we're going off tilt. Again, gender norms. If I can just put this out, based upon just definition, right? It is the accepted behavior that is identified by different sexes, right? So the things that you expect a woman, the things you expect a man do. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of the other stuff right now. But I do want to capture some of these questions that are being asked in the chat. So the first one, if you will help me with that, and I need to find out where it's at. Miss Verlene McCoy, when it comes to, there you go. When it comes to mindsets, how do you tell a violent cross-dresser or not that they can't act or dress the way they feel? They will automatically get to offense, that what causes the violence to come in. Go ahead, Chris. I think you're about to say something. You're muted, bro.
That's a very simple answer. You don't. It is you. Listen, man, I said this before, man. I am not arrogant enough to tell somebody else how they are supposed to live their life. If you a cross-dresser, or if you're doing things like that, I can't tell you what you can and can't do. Just don't expect me to live in your delusion. You understand what I'm saying? Don't do that. Don't try to force that on me. You understand what I'm saying? Because I know you're a cross-dresser. That's not your gender. You're just dressing like the opposite. You understand what I'm saying? Don't expect me to live in your delusion, but I'm not going to tell you you can't do it. That's on you. You can do what you want as long as it's not hurting me and anybody else around me, and you are not breaking any laws, who am I to say what you can and can't do?
I agree.
Yeah, I ride with Chris. I used to tell people all the time when this whole conversation first started becoming like the conversation to have in America. It was don't tell a lot, because a lot of people always want to tell me, well, I'm a preacher and I need to learn how to know. I don't need to learn how to do nothing other than what the scripture says. And so this is where I stand. That's where you stand. Now stand where you stand. I stand where I stand. But if you want to know what I believe, I'm going to tell you what I believe. And so that's where I can't really. I'm with Chris. I can't just jump out there and tell you you can't act like this, and they get offended and they get violent. They might, but I'm not going. If that's what you want to do, that's what you do. But over here, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I just think this one is a cut and dry answer. No disrespect, but I'm just being completely transparent. It's not a whole lot we need to dig in on this one, but it is a great question because there are some tempers that may exist. My advice is just don't get involved with it. Don't even touch it. Leave it be. You stay over there. I'm doing my thing with me and my peoples. We're over here. We're doing our thing. Whatever y'all got going on, y'all do it over there. And I think that's the answer. Again, no disrespecting at anybody. No disrespecting, openly shaming, or anything of that nature. Just at the end of the day, just respect what they're doing, but just do what you know is right. And I think that's the way to stay safe out of all of this. So let's kind of dive into the scenario real quick. As you guys know, I like to give scenarios. And so the scenario is called Breaking Boundaries, a Modern Household Dilemma. Now, James and Naomi have been married for 12 years and live in a close-knit community that holds strong traditional views about gender roles. James works full-time, and while he believes in the importance of equality, he feels that when it comes to their household, Naomi should focus on looking after their home and their two children, 10-year-old Samuel and 6-year-old Rebecca. Naomi, on the other hand, feels a strong calling to serve in the community's women outreach program, which raises awareness and provides support to those common concerns leading to depression. She sees it as an opportunity not only to assist those in need, but also to demonstrate to her children the importance of community service and challenging traditional norms. However, this new commitment would require Naomi to be away from home more often, attending weekly meetings and occasionally organizing events. This would mean hiring a babysitter or asking James to help more with the children. James is hesitant about the idea as he feels it's a departure from the roles they've established in their family. As they navigate this situation, their children, Samuel and Rebecca, are also forming their own ideas about gender roles. Samuel is beginning to echo sentiments about traditional roles he hears from peers, while Rebecca is curious and occasionally frustrated about the expectation placed on her because of her gender. Here's the dilemma, though. Naomi is torn between her desire to serve her community and her commitment to her family needs. She wants to be an example for her children, showing them the importance of community involvement and breaking traditional gender stereotypes. At the same time, she needs to consider James' feelings and the stability of their family dynamic. That said, it takes us to the first category, which is the intersection of history, society, and personal choices. Gentlemen, the first question under this category that I drop in your lap is, considering the lessons we've learned from history in the way society thinks today, how do you think past choices and events have shaped our current beliefs and behaviors, especially regarding how men and women should interact and relate?
Man, that's a
Yeah,
layered question. Like,
That's a doozy.
yeah.
Now you see why I wanted to unpack gender norms first?
Because see, in the past, men worked, women were in the kitchen. But now women can work too, and men can work too. And to keep it real, men can be in the kitchen and the women can work, and vice versa. So it's like, see, here's the thing. We are so stuck in how things used to be that we don't know how to evolve depending on the situation at hand. If I'm talking about what's going on in the scenario, why can't she do both and maybe the husband do a little more because she's doing something that's bigger than her? It would be different if she was doing this to be selfish, but she sees a need in the community and she's trying to fulfill that need, but she knows that fulfilling that need is going to cause a little rift in the home. You understand what I'm saying? To keep it real, the husband need to get out of his ego and let that woman do what what she feels in her gut that she's called to do. You understand what I'm saying? He can pick up a little every now and then, but this is a community thing. This isn't her just saying, I want to do this for me. She's saying, I see a need outside of here that I know I can help facilitate. I have a gut feeling and I have a feeling in my spirit that I need to facilitate this. So I'm going to go do it because it's bigger than me. Maybe you can help out every now and then. You understand what I'm saying? This is a compromise thing to me.
I disagree with Chris, but before do you want me to rebuttal what Chris said, or do you want me to be more into the?
Well, that's what you started with.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
You came with the smoke.
So
Yeah, you can't start like that in the backtrack. You better come on.
And
well,
you know
I
what?
remember
I respect that.
I agree and I disagree at the same time. I believe that the number one thing that she should be focused on is the family. As I'm already assuming that they didn't have this conversation before they had been married and before they had those two children. With that being said, this is an evolution in the relationship that probably wasn't seen ahead of time. So now they have to go back to what is the direction that we have established for our relationship. If it lines up, by all means, Chris, like you said, boom, 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 boom. But if it doesn't line up, then absolutely not. We got kids. I understand that you feel that you need to go do something, but we have an obligation to our children. And if we have already decided that I was going to do this and you are going to do this, you can't come in later and say, "Oh, well, now I've changed. I'm feeling myself. I need to go out here and do the community, and you need to help out." No, we've already established that this is how it's going to be. I'm not saying that they shouldn't that it shouldn't be a conversation, but during that conversation, it needs to come back to what did we have established for the family. And like Chris said, if it lines up, then I have no problem with her going out there doing that, me helping out in the house. But if it doesn't line up, then absolutely not. We're not doing it.
See, I agree with you only because when I said what I said, it was based on them having the conversation beforehand. If she just up and willy-nilly decided to change the plan, then yes, you need to figure out what's best for this house before you go outside of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if we have the conversation and we formulate a plan so that way you can go help out where you feel you need to be and what happens inside this home isn't lacking,
There's that
then
feeling
go
word
for it.
again. There's that feeling word again.
But we talking about
I know.
You know what? Nope. You know what? All
You're
right.
right.
I said I was
I think Roland needs to say something, so I'm gonna
I
back
said I
up.
was gonna
I'm
behave,
gonna let
so I'm gonna
somebody else
behave.
have
I'm
the
gonna mute
floor.
my mic right now.
Me too.
Can you move me over here with Chris? Because I'm wholeheartedly with no. I'm with Chris on this because I think at some point in relationships, when the other partner needs some fulfillment in their life, you have to look at everything and say, man, how can I assist this? Because her whole dynamic can't be, oh, I'm just mother and wife. I need some fulfillment. So I got to feel a certain way because at some point I can say, well, I pay all the bills and I do all this. Yeah, but she's sitting on the house just waiting on kids to come home and all this other stuff. She has no sense of self in this now. She's trying to find self, not like she's trying to find it outside of family. She's trying to include family within this dynamic, but need a little help. So I'm looking at it like, hey, if that's helping, and we've had the conversation, because it ain't gonna be something you just up and doing, because you can up and want to do something else next week and then be Mary Poppins for somebody else. Can't have that. We got to have, first and foremost, is home, not necessarily house, because the house can be anywhere, but home. Me and the kids, you, are we okay? Now, how can we assist you with fulfilling yourself, fulfilling your dreams, and all this stuff? Because if we just bypass it and say, no, you're supposed to be in the house, now that becomes a dictatorship, and he becomes her Lord and not her husband, in a sense, even though he is in that, it's almost a parallel, if you get what I'm saying. So I think he still needs to see how he can, as leader, as head, you still take into account how the people up under you, how they feel about certain things, and what will make them feel and work better. It's just like being in the military. You could just say, well, do it like this and do it like that. But when other ideas come along, there you go. No, I'm just kidding. But when other ideas come in,
I'm with you.
When other ideas come in, you have to take into consideration how they feel and what will make because it's going to make the whole work better. Because if she feels a sense of fulfillment, that's going to run over into the children. It's going to run over into the home. And so now there's no disgruntled, and she ain't walking by you. You ain't sleeping on the hot side of the bed and, going through life in a bad way.
Oh, I'm so glad that we changed sides like we did, because y'all crazy over there. Whatever side y'all on, y'all done lost your mind.
What?
Listen. Let me say why. It's not that I don't understand what y'all saying, but first, the sort of first thing I have a problem with is that we always, not we, but society, we always go into these conversations and we always jump out and say, well, he needs to do more, as if the man is doing nothing, as if the idea of this, and go back to the scenario. It said established roles, which means I have things going on, she has things going on that benefits the family and the household. And so for her to add to her plate means I have to now take away from my plate, means we just put everything we talked about into a blender, and we don't even know what our family looks like no more. And everybody runs through a whirlwind, and now everything is in chaos, right? And we get there, and a lot of families get there and don't know how they got there, is because we walk away from the things that we have established. If this is what we have established, and okay, you got this feeling, it didn't happen. This feeling didn't come up yesterday. So why am I expected to say, well, I'm gonna stop doing these things, or I'm going to put more on my plate so she can keep her plate even, right? Well, we have, and whenever we talk about gender equality, it always kills me, because we talk about equality as if what you're doing, what I'm doing is not equal. And so you want to do something more to feel like you're doing more in the world, or I'm not doing enough in the house, so I'm not doing enough in life, or whatever. If that's what you want to do it. But it should not take away from what we do here. I'm not going to say
agree with me without agreeing with me.
No, because all of this, he needs to come over here and start doing and start taking stuff off her plate. He has stuff established.
But see, what I said was, I get what you're saying. He has stuff established. But what I'm saying is, if they have the conversation and they say, hey, and she comes to him and says, hey, I think in my gut that I need to do this. And they
don't change that word. You know the word you want to use.
Same. It's the same. It's the same. Feel, think. Well, see, we're talking about. We're talking about the other gender. Right. We're talking about the other gender. We're talking about the other gender. If we have the conversation and we formulate a plan, so that way what I'm putting on my plate, you understand what I'm saying, doesn't take away from the family, and what you are putting on your plate doesn't take away from the family, and we formulate a plan and it works out, then go for it. But I agree with you. If I have to take away from my plate for you to do something outside of the home and the home is lacking, then we have a problem. So I agree with you. You understand what I'm saying? You just agree with me without agreeing with me. I never
Because
said that the man was doing nothing or wasn't doing enough. What I said
You're-
was the woman
the text
wanted
the
to
texture
do
of-
the woman wants to do more. And they have the conversation about her doing more, but the house isn't lacking. As long as the house isn't lacking, you can do what you want, but just make sure
I-
that my home is taken care of. You understand what I'm saying?
but you did preference that he needs to do more, or he
Well, if
needs
he
to
got to do some
jump.
laundry,
And
do
he
some
go-
doggone
Have
laundry.
the if they
listen.
have the conversation and it's and it works out for the
If-
whole.
So I got a dumb question.
Yes, sir.
I just got a dumb question. Is this really a household chores conversation that we're having right now?
Probably.
He
Is
is
it?
Roland is that's a role.
I mean, I
Probably.
just want to make sure
I'm-
that I'm
I'm-
understanding. Is this
And
a
this is
chore
why I
conversation
stay
we're having?
and this is why I stay away from these
It's
conversations.
included.
Because they get goofy. This is the goofy side of it. Because I gotta throw an extra load in the laundry because she wants to
But
go do
it's the
community
reality
service. It's
of
a
it, though.
problem.
But this is real family struggles, right? Like household chores become a part of the major conversations and arguments, right?
Huge issue.
And so my point is this. When we say, well, all you got to do is put an extra load of laundry. No, see, Roland can say that because Roland loves laundry, right? But that's part of what Roland does, right? That's not part of what Tawami does. So when Tawami has to, when, and I'm only going to talk about my household. So when Chastity comes and say, I'm going to not do laundry and I'm not going to cook no more and I'm not going to do this because I want to go do this outreach. Nope, reel that back in because this is what we have established. And so if I have to now do what I do and do what you do so that you can go do something else, I have nothing against the community.
I agree with you.
But
remember, she
we
was
should
in-
not lack for that.
I agree
ahead.
with you.
She was involving the kids in this also, so it's something that they will gain from this. And if I got to pick a kid up from daycare, if I gotta pick up, and everybody should be cleaning. I hate that where we get in our head that it's the woman's job to clean the house. I ain't sitting in no dirty house.
Is
So
it
if something
everybody's
needs to be
job to
done,
get up at 2:00 in the morning when somebody coming knocking at the door?
She should.
Thank you.
She should.
It's
You
like
there.
it's like we okay with making exceptions.
No.
Do things
This
that
is why
they
these
do.
conversations are so
You got to give
goofy.
a realistic thing. Now you can't
Okay.
say 2:00 in the morning because you should be there. If you ain't there at 2:00 in the morning,
Yeah, I'm
And this
there.
and this is
Tyrone gonna be
why
answering your door.
and this is why we said we don't know how many of these questions we're going to get to tonight, right? I asked the question about chores for a particular reason because I have a philosophy. I believe if I spend too much time talking about survival, then at the end of the day, what's going to result is the lower means of my existence. I'm not going to have a whole deep conversation about who's going to do the laundry, who's going to wash the dishes, right? That's not something that I want to spend a great deal of time talking about. Let's work out a plan. But the thing for me is that we need to speak from a higher form of existence. That's why people who are in the diamond program, they're over there biting their nails right now because they really want a microphone. They mad. I know they are because we literally talked about this like a week ago, right? At the end of the day, there is a household vision. You can wake up the next day with some premonition, some little hair crawling across the back of your neck, and you want to establish your legacy in society because you want to feel important. Sounds good, but what was our original plan? What did we talk about? We're going to go back to our plan. It's not that I'm saying that you can't do it. It may be not right now. You see what I'm saying? And I think too many times because of fear of what the repercussions of or the emotional outlash of being completely honest, going back to the original conversation, understanding that we are a unit. This is not your opportunity at stardom, which is probably what it really is in the beginning. And I will add, adding the kids to your own plan is wrong. If you decide you want to go out there and do a thing and then you rope the kids into it, now you done created your own little cohort. And now I'm trying to figure out like, wait, what happened? What went
And
wrong?
I just gotta accept it.
Right. So that's
No!
just me though. That's just me. right? So at the end of the day, if you don't believe what I believe, then that message probably wasn't for you. I got it. Do what you do, right? You know what I'm saying? Y'all go and just meet back in the middle and just compare notes later and see how that works out. But for me in my house, right, there has to be an overarching plan. There has to be a vision. And under that vision, we decide jointly how we're going to move within that space.
Do we all
So
do we all agree? I think we all agree. I think we all agree that as long as we have the conversation, it doesn't adjust anything, we're good.
Thank you.
Is that kind of what you were saying, Coach? I think
That's
we just
exactly-
had different ways of saying it. And I think it could have been because maybe what we heard or what we thought we heard someone else say, we might have thought that we was in disagreement.
but y'all know me, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. I'm sorry.
The reason why I said earlier, the reason why I said earlier that the man might have to get out of his ego is because I was under the premise that they had the conversation and he just flat out was like, no, instead of saying, okay, if you want to do this, then we need to figure out how the rest of this is going to work while you do this, because this cannot lack. This is way more important than what goes on outside of these walls. I understand that you want to help. I understand you want to do all of these things, but this is what matters. You understand what I'm saying? We have to do this first. Coach always says you can't pour from a empty or half full cup. You have to pour from the overflow. You understand what I'm saying? So the cup of the house has to be full before you go outside and think you want to go change the world. Now, if you just gonna just do it and think I'm just gonna accept it, you about to accept these papers and I'm about to accept the exit out of this relationship. No, I told y'all before, I do not negotiate with terrorists. This is not happening.
Well, I don't necessarily view that as terroristic behavior out the gate, right? But I do believe, and I think just based upon what you just said, I don't think that's the same thing, right? Because even with that being said, if, like I said, if that's something that you decide you want to do today, and we had a plan based upon the vision, so forth and so on, and then you woke up the next day and say, hey, I want to go do this, I want to go do this, and my girlfriend was telling me about this. Well, I appreciate that. We move as a unit. You see what I'm saying? This is a unit. This is the foundation of teamwork. This is the foundation of what community becomes. The reason why the community is struggling, because the family is not doing it together. The community don't see family involvement. They see one person out there, and then the story that might be told, oh, that joke at the house, so they ain't, whatever. Or somebody else get to tell your story and don't even know the ins and outs of it. And with that scenario, like you home taking care of the kids, whatever the case may be, and out there hanging out with whoever else doing whatever. No, that's not how it's gonna work. And again, if you don't believe what I believe, I got it. Do whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to understand the reason why community is struggling, because it's not seeing family, it's seeing individuals, and those individuals look like single individuals. That's my point. Look like we got some questions or statements. What's the first one up? All right, where is his flexibility? He needs to have an open mind.
Nope.
Say it. That's my mom. Say it. Let her have it.
I agreed with her, because I think
you did agree. I saw that.
It's the same way when I was in the military. I can't expect for my soldiers to do something I was never willing to do. And because I know where they are, I've been there and done that. If we working late, if we working extra and I'm sitting there doing nothing, what does it cost me to pick up something, to do something, to help out? Because I'm looking at it as a team, and as the man of the house, this is me, as the man of the house, I'm not sitting up there and my wife is slaving and my son looking at me sit back. No, he gonna see me pick up something. He gonna see me.
For who?
I don't think that's the same.
Coach.
What if your soldier said, hey, son Walker, I got another job. My job starts at 2:00. Do you mind if I cut out early every day?
Your job don't start at 2:00.
But I'm just telling you, I got another job.
That's my answer. Your job don't start at 2:00.
So you're agreeing with us then?
Exactly.
He's flexible. We talking about household. He has to be flexible.
What I'm saying,
as the head, you have to be flexible, just like as a soldier. I'm not talking about wait.
Let me in. I can be flexible. I can be flexible, but you're not about to just come in here and change the plan just because you feel like
not
it.
at all. I agree. I'm with you.
soldiers work under one common vision.
Yes.
Yeah, you're a soldier.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so it's one
everything that
conversation.
everything that we do under that vision does not change the plan.
But what
when
I'm
you're
saying is, you know, you've been around some leaders who
Mhm.
will sit back and just watch people slave and not do anything when they can say, "Hey,
yeah, that's
me
just
check."
poor leaders. The poor leaders. That's all that is.
like putting up
but-
tents.
Ain't my
We had
job
to
to
jump,
dig no
jump
hole.
top.
Ain't my
See,
job to dig no
bro,
hole.
yeah. He said it ain't
I
Now
job
ain't-
putting
to
up,
dig
now
no
putting
hole.
up that GP large in the
Man,
wind.
everybody got to put their hands
Man.
on the GP.
Hey, especially large wind blowing out here. So
Get
just
that
take
center
flight.
ball.
Come on, give me that. Give me
Yeah,
that
but
script.
I
Go ahead.
think
Go
I
ahead,
get
Gad. Go
the
ahead.
flexibility
let me-
piece.
let-
I get the flexibility piece.
I get it, but here's my thing. Like, it goes back to this. Ro, we always speak though from the perspective that the man is just sitting there doing nothing, right? And I use this concept for instance, right? If company's coming over and the house is dirty, a woman gonna look at and you know the wife is always gonna be like, you know, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Like, babe, relax. No, ain't nobody coming to the house and saying what? That a woman ain't keeping a clean house, right? I don't care if she cleans or not. If somebody coming over, she gonna clean that day, right? Same thing. You roll over and the grass ain't cut, and the trash cans dirty, covered in maggots. You gonna say what? You ain't got no man in this house, right? It's just something. So when they come over and they ask why the grass ain't cut, my hedges is crazy and everything is crazy because I'm inside keeping the kids, cleaning the house, doing dishes and laundry on Saturday or Sunday, whatever day you do it. I'm doing this so she can go out and do the community stuff. So if flexibility means I have to take on all of this now, which means this has to be left aside.
I'm agreeing with you there. House is
So-
first.
So we can't say it as if the man is just sitting there doing nothing. That's not always the case.
No, we're saying it from the premise that something else he needs to do a little something. Not he has to take over her position, her job, her, you know, if she's out gallivanting doing her thing and you doing her job, what I need you for? I might well go on and get Kim.
Absolutely.
So no, that don't fly.
And I think that goes to the next question. As the relationship grows, is there room for conversation? Is there room for conversation to make adjustments? I think it's a resounding
Absolutely.
yes. I think that's what everybody is actually saying right now. It is a resounding yes. But I think at some points, just based upon a scenario, I think what we have to understand is that that scenario does not lead to a definitive answer because it's not necessarily understood within the scope of time. Sure, the kids are 10 and 6, which means that they may need a little bit more attention, but you ain't changing no Pampers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, school.
Yeah, they're in school and they're doing some other things as well. So that's why I say conversation needs to happen. Like, what does that look like? There has to be an understanding, but as long as it doesn't interfere with the original plan, we're moving on with that. I'm good. Everybody good to go?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Moving on to the next
Damn right.
question.
Are we on question 2 tonight?
Man,
Going to
listen,
2?
we made it to 2. All right. This was
I think it's an hour and 2 minutes.
all right. Listen, how does the intricate dance? Hold on. Yeah, okay. How does the intricate dance of emotional manipulation intersect the established gender roles?
Emotional manipulation.
Yeah, I kind of tapped into it earlier when I said, you know, the fear of saying no,
I
right?
don't have those things. Emotions. You know, I don't dive in that. Oh, you gonna feel this way, you gonna cry. You know, you go wash your face, come back and holler at me. But at the end of the day, I'm standing right here. So intricate dance of emotional manipulation. You can get mad. You can say, well, you ain't getting none and all that other manipulation tactics and stuff. But we had a conversation, so I got to stand right here. And if you are an adult, you got to stand here with me and see how you're wrong. I ain't got no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm with
Um,
you. I've grown past the whole. I don't care about your tears. I don't care about what name you gonna call me. I don't even care about you keeping your weapon away from me because I'm just not gonna want it, and I'm gonna devote that energy to something else. This is the plan. You cannot just throw something into the plan and negate your obligations to the plan and think that I'm just gonna pick up on it just because you think I should and because I love you. No. You have a job to do just like I have a job to do. Now, if you can do your job and do the extra stuff, then by all means, go for it. But the job comes first, and the job is the house. The job is our home. You understand what I'm saying? I don't negotiate with terrorists.
I was waiting for it. I agree, but the question is not talking about these two stealth brothers who don't feel. It's talking about how it does intersect.
I like that dig you
So-
just did. That was cool. I like that undercut, that uppercut. I like that.
Hey, we teams today. It's me and Unk versus.
If he didn't, I was.
Even though he a Giants fan, so I'm rocking with him tonight.
Hey, NFC East today. Let's just stand. Nah, but I think the problem comes in sometimes because we try to use our partner's not emotional weakness, right? And I'm saying it like that because so often we look at emotional manipulation as if it's strictly a woman's thing that they do. But I think it's both ways, right? As a man that grew up in the 90s, right? Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, we were taught, that women were emotional creatures. You can't say certain things to a woman because it'll make her feel bad. You blah blah blah. What I noticed is that the women that I grew up with were learning the same thing, and so a lot of them would use that trigger to make me feel bad for them having an emotion. And that is my job to make sure they don't have that emotion. And so now here I am trying to do a song and dance to make them feel good because I said that dress did make them look a little thicker than what they had on yesterday, right? But it flips because we also know that women are more emotional, and so a lot of times we will use the same emotional tactics. We'll play on how we'll word things more emotionally to get them to feel deeply what we're saying. We'll pretend like we're about to cry because they can relate to that, to force them to do things outside of what's normal, what's established. And so it's those. She said it's okay to say.
And you better let Keith Sweat do the whining.
No, but
Or take the L.
There he go. But that's what I'm saying. It's not just a she do it, and it's not just a he do. It's we both have our own ways of doing it. We play on each other's emotions, on each other's taught behaviors to try to manipulate how things go, to manipulate what each other do, right? And so I think I don't disagree with those brothers. I just preface, and this is how I believe that it happens. So I do err more on the side of caution, where it's like, hey, this is the emotional part of it. Now this is what it should happen. This is what should go on.
I think in conjunction with what you're saying as well, we also have to look at it we also have to look at the man as well, right? So men, we tend to exercise emotional manipulation by, number one, robbing emotions from the atmosphere. I think that's the first thing that I know for a fact I did when I was married. But I mean, I was like 10 and 2. I had zero emotions whatsoever. I didn't care about this. I didn't care about that. What's the facts? The facts are good. Okay, good. So now it's a little different. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little bit older, a little wiser, right? So I would say the first thing we do is we rob. Yeah, more flexible. Yeah. I see what you did there. You rob right? You rob the entire environment of any of your emotions. You become extremely stoic, right? And although stoicism is good to a certain degree, but overly stoic is not good. Overly nothing is not good, right? I think that's important to understand. Also, the presence of the potential of force. Remember, I've said before, and I believe wholeheartedly, the only reason that peace can exist is that war is imminent. That's why peace is one of those things that we have to understand. If you're not willing to protect peace, then there is no peace. And if it is peace, it won't last long. Sometimes we take that too literally. right? We have to understand he is called the Prince of Priests for a reason, because he has the ability to call down 10,000 angels, not me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get in these fights with, with her or whatever that looks like. So we need to understand on both sides, right? Sure, she is deemed to be an emotional creature, and she is more emotional, which I don't believe that at all whatsoever. I just believe that she has been granted a pass to express her emotions more than I have. But it does not mean that I don't have emotions. It just means that I am learning and getting to the point of being more comfortable with expressing. And sometimes what you'll find is that we go from not expressing to overly expressing, right? And then we got to find that balance to come back to the center. So that's just my take on it. Turn it back over to you guys before we start jumping into these questions in the chat.
I will say this. I don't have a lot to say on this. I got really involved in the conversation, and that's why I'm saying this. But I think that listening to
Thank you for
everybody,
changing that.
there is a
I
there is
appreciate
a
it.
yes, sir, yes, sir. It's a lot of things that are coming back around today, and I'm really enjoying this conversation tonight. Really, really enjoying it. Um, it's a I can't get past the word power struggle. Every time I keep hearing something, I think that someone is trying to gain some level of power in here. I don't know where. I didn't get a chance. I had a chance, but I was too focused on what you guys were saying to really take time to create and come up with something to go along with that. But I keep getting, every time someone says something, I keep coming back to there being some sort of power struggle somewhere. And if there's a power struggle somewhere, then it seems like that there haven't been some conversations that needed to be had at some point. Or why is there a power struggle? Why is there the manipulation? So like I said, something about power struggle keeps popping into my head every time someone says something. And I don't know what to do with that, but I just want to throw power struggle out there.
Because
And maybe somebody chew on it.
power struggle and manipulation go hand in hand. And that's why we keep saying have the conversation, because if we already agreed, hey, you're gonna be here till the kids get blase split, cool. I don't care what you come up with. You want to go sell cookies at sit outside Walmart, Target or something. What they got to do with this? We got to do this first. We got to take this, because if we plan in steps. Now, as these steps change, now we have conversations. We don't just sit up there and say, well, the iron fist come down. We have a conversation, because one, I'm not parenting her. We are parenting kids. So as we're together, we got to come up with decision that's best for our family. And yours ain't going to manipulate me to say, okay, you taking over all my part. Like Gaddy was saying, I'm agreeing with Gaddy on this one, Tuami. And mine ain't go usurp your authority or vice versa. I think we work as a team. So just like the military, Lisa, it's a team effort, because as team members, sometimes I got to pick up the load. Sometimes I can sit back on my hands and dictate and watch.
I'm in my feelings right now because he gave Gaddy my credit. No, I'm joking. But no, but no,
it's shared credit, man.
It's shared credit. There you go. We all share credit around these parts.
I say we all win.
That's it. That's what's happening. But no, I'm agreeing, and I just think I'm glad the concept of power, which I equate to control, which is really what it is, right? The concept of power and control is brought to the table in this discussion, because I think that is literally the threshold of every violent situation. It can't be any violence without a desire to control the narrative, right? Not necessarily the narrative itself, but the person behind the narrative, right? You can control the narrative, just don't try to control the person. I will also go. I'm going to say this, and I don't. You know what? Yeah, I'm
with your chest.
I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it. Here we go.
You damn right.
I was hesitant. That's all. But I believe wholeheartedly the biggest problem with that is that people jump literally the broom too soon, right? You get to the point, you're in a hurry to get to the finish line. You get to the point, you always try to, you're so caught up with the idea of relationship and marriage that you forget that the other person that you're marrying or getting in a relationship with is really the person that you're supposed to be learning, not forcing the other person to learn you. And that becomes the biggest problem. Oh, yeah, by the way, you do it so fast, you don't give the other person the opportunity to take the mask off. So you really don't know who they are. You only know the person that they show you. And the issue is that they're only showing you what they think you want to see. But once they get what they want, all bets are off. So now when the mask come off, you stuck, bro. My bad. Now you're telling me, or we're telling you, you got to grow to accept me for who I am. That is the worst thing that you can tell anybody. That's why I do not agree with the narrative that supports stuff of that nature. No relationship, period. I don't care what it is. No relationship is about acceptance. That is a false positive. Do the math, right? It is a false positive, which makes it a negative. So no relationship is to accept who you are. You got to go back to the beginning of what all relationships stem from. That relationship is designed to make you grow. Relationships are the gateway to growth. If we don't see it that way, then stay single, because that's the best thing that anybody can do who has a faulty narrative of relationship. It's later for Snow White, later for Rapunzel, later for what is it? Snow White and the seven imps. Later for all that. Put all that stuff aside. That stuff is foolishness. It created a subconscious concept in a person's mind about a false interpretation of what relationships are. And that's the reason why you see what you see. And then you get to the point of trying to force someone to give in to what your worldview of relationship is. And it has absolutely nothing to do with relationship. It has to do with you being served.
I say this all the time. Send the dude from the mailroom and not the dude in the public relations office that's supposed to make you look good. And quit get out of that movie that you got playing in your head that only stars you, but you play all the characters in the movie. No, I don't have to accept you for what you are. I don't negotiate with terrorists, and
Yeah,
you need a level 2 when dealing with me. Bottom line.
And I want to make sure I'm clear. That was not gender specific. That was gender neutral. That's for men and women. There are a lot of men who walking around thinking that they are a knight in shining armor. You are not, bro. I'm sorry. Let me be the first person to tell you, you ain't no knight. You ain't got no shining armor. You ain't got no horse. How you talking? You got, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got to be completely transparent and be honest. Like, just like, it works on both sides of the fence. Everybody needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror. That's it. Go ahead and bring it up. Go ahead and bring it up.
Yep, I'm glad y'all said everything y'all said ahead of time, because as I was looking at this question, all of that plays a part to me, to the answer right here, right? I know she was hesitant to ask, but could the statement "women are emotional creatures" be a gender bias? I think it's a gender bias in our upbringing, right? Because we all have emotions, right? We feel them, they come up, and all this other stuff, right? But through Snow White, through Cinderella, through all of these 10,000 Disney princesses, and the only prince they know is Charming, right? So it's this ideology of that we have been raised with, that men have been taught. As a man, you have to be able to do this. You got to be able to fix this. You got to be able to notice this. You got to be able to watch out this. You got to be able to walk on this side of the street so she don't give. We do these things that teach us as men not to not have emotions, but that it is not safe for us to live in our emotions, right? And a lot of it, I think, is for benefit too. But and on the flip side of that, the women are taught to watch Cinderella and to watch Snow White and wait for somebody to kiss them and wake them up, that they ought to be a damsel in distress. And so women have been taught how, and I'm just gonna say it like this: like, I think women were taught how to weaponize emotions, right? And so I think when we talk about or women being emotional creatures. I think it's just it's a upbringing. It's how we were taught. Women were not taught to ignore emotions. Men were taught. Go ahead. I hear you.
I'm going to say no. It's not a gender bias because in our society, women are taught that they could just be free with their emotions with no repercussions. And we have to internalize and deal with our emotions and process them and then run them through our brains, which is what I call our editing system. And then it comes out of our mouths. So that way it makes you feel good or it doesn't really hurt you. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a gender bias. It's just the way that it is. We're not allowed to fly off the handle based off of our emotions. We can't, but you can. And if we say something about you flying off the handle emotionally, then we're the problem. No, it's not a gender bias.
Man, I'm agreeing with Chris. No, it's a reality. It's not a gender bias. It's reality. And if you want to go to where biblically, women are called the weaker sex, not because they are physically weaker, but because in our roles, which we established earlier, when it comes to roles, our role was to go work by the sweat of our brow. Your role was to rear the children. And rearing children, you need to deal with emotions. You have the emotions of the children. You have to make sure that the children's needs are met and your husband and all that other stuff. While we got to go to work. And if we go to work and we are emotional, we'll go to work and quit. We'll go to work and somebody tell us what to do, and now we in the bathroom wiping our face, putting water on our face because he told me to do this in a harsh way or whatever. That's not our makeup. That's not our role. So it's not a knock on women being emotional because it's your makeup. It's what makes you beautiful. Because now when I'm going through, you can calm me down. You can say, babe, it ain't that bad. You can bring, because you know I'm at an emotional high. So now you noticing that, you in your femininity can say, babe, you're a little too hyped now. Calm it down. Let's think about this thing. Whereas me, I want to go tear everything up because that's my makeup. So we were just simply built different. So it's not a knock on you being built the way you are, because I think the way women were built is a beautiful thing. It's just we go through life trying to knock each and every difference instead of us ingratiating ourselves into saying, man, I appreciate the small difference in that weaker sex. And I'm not the stronger because I'm this. I'm stronger because I got this backbone and I have to deal with more. That's how it used to be. But now I can sit at home and I can babysit the kids and I can eat cookies and crap and watch Oprah if that still come on.
I think the difficulty with this question or any question of this magnitude is that it is a statement of generalization, which speaks to the entirety of a group. And whenever you speak to an entirety of a group, it is automatically a false statement, because everybody is not in the same space. Some people have learned how to regulate their emotions, right? Well, if they're a part of that group, when you get to the point of asking that question, then that question is no. Women aren't quote unquote emotional. I know some very stoic women, right? They're very analytical thinkers and they process before the emotions even hit the table. So when you ask a general question, then the answer has to always be no. There is no thought that we have to put into that. Now, when we talk about certain aspects of it, right, certain sects of that group, then what you guys just heard is absolutely true. And Lisa, I will go to your point. I also will believe that there is a learned behavior based upon a normalcy of that fact. So when you start looking at the accepted versions of those emotional outbursts, so forth and so on, then there has to be a learned behavior to find a way to cope with it. But that's not the entirety of the group, right? And that's not everybody's experience. I think it's important to say that, because if we do not, it really sounds like we're taking all women and dropping them in a bucket and say, pour a little syrup on them and say, that's who you guys are. That's not an accurate statement. So I don't want to leave that out there. But there's a lot of truth to what they said. It does not speak to those people who've learned how to regulate their emotions and not be so driven by their emotions, because we understand that part of that governance that Michelle talked about, right? Part of that governance is governing self. And governing self means that I understand how to regulate my emotions, so I'm not led by my emotions, but I'm led by the things that separate me and make me different from an animal, my brain. So that being said, thank you guys for it. I know this was a little different. We didn't talk about the violence and all that other stuff. We talked about the things that lead up to it. That's the point. So the idea is to bring awareness to those things that lead to the violent behavior, that leads to the abuse and so forth and so on, so that we can understand where it comes from. That said, that brings us to the bittersweet moment of the show where we go into our final thoughts. And that being said, we're going to start with my young brother in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, the right-hand corner of your screen, Mr. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle himself, my brother from another mother, across the table with Christopher McClellan. Brother, you got the floor.
I guess my final thought would be this. Most of everything that we have talked about is based off of one thing. Have the conversation. Learn how to talk. Learn how to actually speak to each other like you like each other. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not that difficult. And to be real, you might come to a resolution that benefits everybody, or you might take a L. You understand what I'm saying? Just have be the grown up that you claim you are. Be the grown up that you shout from the mountaintops that you are. And have an adult conversation with the person that you claim you love. That's what really this is all about. Just having the conversation and be righteous in your conversation. Understand that having that conversation is a benefit to everybody and not just you or not just the other party. It's good for the whole. Learn how to talk. Jesus H. That's my final thought.
Coach just mentioned that we were talking about things that lead up to DV. And just like Chris said, have the conversation. As everybody saw tonight, we all had different opinions, we had different thoughts, but we also were in agreement about some of the same things too. And when there is confusion, oftentimes, because there's not a conversation that is had, it can lead to DV and different things like that. So my final thought is simple and it's short, is that, like Chris said, have the conversation. And if you have the conversation, it may not lead to a point to where someone is putting hands on somebody.
And since my brother ended with the DV, I'm gonna start there because we kind of ended talking about this emotion thing, and this is why for me, and I know we can really deal with our young men, right? The ones that we're rearing up and raising up. This is why it's important, and I think what my brother Roland was trying to say, it's important that as men we learn how to regulate ourselves emotionally, because the ability for a man, and it happens both ways, right? I think we established that last week, but in order for a man to get to the point to where he destroys or he wounds or bruise or hurts the gift of God to his life, which is his woman, comes from a place of unregulated emotion, and it can come from a power struggle. But if it gets to that point to where that power struggle exists, then I'm a ride with my other brother Chris. We take that L and keep it moving, right? We have to learn how to coexist one with another in harmony. I can't be in a power struggle with you. You shouldn't have to be in a power struggle with me. We rule together. Everybody talk about we kings and queens. That means we rule together. Let's stop trying to rule each other, and let's figure out how to put this thing together and put our families back together, man. That's all I got.
I think just like the saying was a couple of years ago, everybody was saying teamwork makes the dream work. I think when it comes to DV, it shouldn't be tolerated in any instance, whether it's male on male, and whatever it is, shouldn't be tolerated. And it's not just couples; it's people that commonly know each other. But and what we're talking about uh, when it comes to emotions, you can be hyper or hypo. You can be too high, too low. And I think that's where the problem occurs, not when you just simply have emotions, because we all have emotions. And sometimes, as a man, when you're hyper or hypo, it affects the family and the dynamic where you cause violence in ways that you're not even looking at. So we have to look at things from the point of, am I doing my part? And if I'm doing my part, let me help you get to a point to where you are comfortable doing your part, and not where you are looking to see over your shoulder whether I'm doing my part or not. But or you're scared to come to me with a conversation, because like we've been saying, everything has to have a conversation point. If you start off with a conversation, then we can have dialogue, and then there's mutual involvement. And when there's mutual involvement, then we come to a common decision, because we're parents. That means we are the heads of the team. I'm the head of the ship. I'm the captain of the ship. Like old boy said with Tom Hanks, I'm the captain now. Hey, I'm the captain of the ship. I got control. So the decision making doesn't just fall in my lap, but it comes after we come together, and then I make the final decision. And that's how it works out. But I'm not making it out of a cocky position. I'm making it out of a well thought position, a well discussed position, to where it affects us and keeps our family dynamic where it should be on course.
I'm sorry, y'all caught me smiling. I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to this particular conversation, it's important because we need to understand, like I said prior to, the thing that leads us to not existing in harmony. We need to understand the little nuances, the emotional instabilities that may exist within a relationship that leads to the control, leads to the abuse, that leads to the violent behavior. Make no mistake about it, it does not start off violent in most cases. It literally follows a trend. First the control, then from control to the abusive behavior, the abusive abusing certain things, whatever the case may be, and then it escalates to violence. What you accept will eventually exacerbate. So I think it's important that we get to the point of having these conversations in our communities, so that we are teaching these things to our children, not to be controlling, not to do all of these things in the space of relationships. In other words, we have to get to the point that we teach people what relationships are all about. Too many times for me, what I am hearing are too many people with these things right here, right? These things right here, and they're on social media, whatever the case may be, and they're giving advice about relationships. I'm hearing people who call themselves a relationship coach, and I actually go listen to them, and it really sounds to me that they know they don't have a clue what a relationship is all about. So I think what we need to do collectively in our community is that we need to become educated on relationship, not necessarily what the world is teaching relationship to be. That is designed to keep you confused. And the more you follow that, the more you catch hold to the next buzzword that comes out, the next new hot information that they're injecting, and then you're taking that as the gospel per se, and then you're adding that to your repertoire, right? You're getting to the point to where you're not improving relationship. You're continuing the confusion in relationship. So that's why we have these conversations. That's why we talk about the things that lead to DV. That's why we talk about gender roles. That's why we're talking about whatever. Here's the reality of the truth. What works in your house, if it works in your house, I'm going to say it again. If it works in your house, continue to do that, right? No one is going to come in your house and tell you how to run your household. Again, if it works in your house, continue to do that. But there's a blueprint, right? Right over my shoulder, there's a blueprint that tells you exactly what relationship is. That's the blueprint for all relationships. And if we get to the point and we study what he actually did, study what that was all about, then we'll realize that relationship by itself is a higher calling. Relationship by itself is bigger than you, right? Stop trying to make it about you. Relationship itself is bigger than you, right? One of my most favorite phrases is that the most important person in the relationship is the relationship itself. So going back to what my brother Roland said, how dare you abuse one of God's creation? That doesn't pass the common sense test. If you understand what that really means, then when you look at the violent behavior, when you look at the abuse, you look at the control, it doesn't add up. So again, I want to make sure I'm saying that because I think it's important. I want to say thank you again to this panel of gentlemen. We didn't necessarily agree on every point, but that's okay. And that's why I love our community, because our community makes room for the differences of opinion. Again, shout out to everybody in the chat. I noticed we got a little rocky in the beginning, but I'm glad to see that mellowed out. So again, thank you guys for honoring and appreciating everybody's opinion, because one thing I don't ever want to be the host of a conversation to where we alienate anybody. The word alienate is all about collaboration. It doesn't alienate. I want to say that again. Love collaborates. It doesn't alienate. So that's one of the first things that we have to stop doing in our community. Stop alienating people. Even if they're wrong, that's okay. Let them talk, listen, and then objectively respond without the abusive attack. Okay. So that being said, listen, we appreciate you guys. We value you guys. Make sure you come back. If you have not done so yet, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Again, share it, like it. Go ahead and continue to add value as you normally do. As Craig said, when it came down to one of my favorite movies, Friday, come back next Friday, 8 p.m., same time, same place, Hearts and Men Podcast. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your evening and a phenomenal weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.